Hey there, and welcome to the Event Crushed podcast. Each week, we'll be chatting about all things wedding industry, entrepreneurship, and how to crush it in life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Event Crushed podcast. I'm your host, Becky Hart, and I'm here today for a pretty quick episode. I actually have been out of town this week visiting my mom up in Washington, and my plan was to interview my mom for the podcast because she is an amazing entrepreneur and has this incredible garden center up in Bellingham. And so I was going to interview her a couple days before we came home, but unfortunately, she wasn't feeling super well on the day that we were planned to do the interview. So we decided that we'll do a virtual interview at a future date, but that meant I didn't have an episode ready to release today. So this is a little bit off the cuff, but I think I've collected my thoughts enough. So today's episode, like I said, it'll be a little bit shorter, but I just wanted to talk about the power of community in the wedding industry and really what community can do for you, because I think a lot of people, we hear all the time, community over competition. It's kind of a buzzword in the wedding industry. And so it comes up a lot. But if you are not someone who has gotten involved in either a local community or an online community or whatever capacity, I just wanted to share a bit about the importance of it and why I stress just how essential it is for wedding business owners. Because in my opinion, the number one way to fail in the wedding industry is by isolating yourself and doing everything on your own, not asking for help and not putting any effort into finding community. So as wedding pros, most of us are solopreneurs who are working from home, and more often than not, we're, isolated for hours in our home offices, answering emails, sending quotes and proposals, editing photos or videos, doing social media, and so on. So what are we to do? Thankfully, there are many ways to find community in the wedding industry. If you're just getting started, I would say the least threatening way is to find wedding pros in your area and following them on social media. So Instagram is probably my top choice for that. You can start building relationships with them by simply engaging on Instagram. So commenting on their posts and replying to their stories and just kind of making yourself known to them. And then over time, that can evolve into a relationship. And so that's a really easy way to start, is just finding your local wedding pros, engaging with them, and kind of letting that naturally evolve over time. But of course, if you want to take it a step further, you can reach out. You can, get their email, shoot them an email, or just a Instagram DM and see if they would like to either do like a quick Zoom chat or if they can get together in person. I mean, honestly, not everyone's going to be able to do that, but I think it doesn't hurt to ask. And for me, some of my closest vendor relationships that I have started out that way, either them emailing me and reaching out about getting coffee or me reaching out to them. And so I think, why not give it a shot? And worst case scenario, they say, oh, it's, I'm just not able to right now, but hopefully another time. Especially, as we're now in wedding season, I can imagine that people, their availability is going to be decreased at the moment. But again, a quick Zoom call, I think, people could probably squeeze that in. So it doesn't hurt to ask. And that's just a way to really expedite that relationship beyond just the Instagram DMs and that kind of thing. So another way to find community online is in Facebook groups. In a recent episode, I mentioned the Refine for Wedding Planners group. So whatever industry you're in, finding a group on Facebook specifically for that. I know there's tons of photographer groups. I'm sure there's florist groups, and basically every vendor category, I'm sure, has a Facebook group to connect and just ask questions and share and just kind of have that camaraderie with one another. So finding a Facebook group is a great place to start. Also, local vendor groups are a great option too. And who knows, it might seem so simple just joining a Facebook group and introducing yourself, but you don't know if that could lead to a future referral source or just a really wonderful friend that could come from that. So finding community online is amazing. I personally love connecting with wedding planners in other areas, as well as my local market. But with other areas, it's really nice because they're not my direct competition, and it's a safe place for us to be able to share about what's going on in our businesses and our lives. And we can all just relate to the struggles that we're going through, but it's a little less threatening because they're not in my direct market. And it just feels like a safe place. An example of that is my mastermind that I've been in for over 3 years, maybe coming up on 4 years. I'm honestly not sure, but there's myself and 3 other wedding planners in the mastermind, and we're all over the country. So one is in Texas, one is in Ohio, and one is in Washington, D.C. And then there's me all the way over here in Oregon. And it's just been such an incredible resource for me over these last years. And this group was born out of a Facebook group. So that's just a testament to what can come out of online relationships. And since starting our virtual mastermind, we've met in person multiple times. We all visited one of our members in Austin, and then we've been to Wedding MBA together in Vegas, and we work together in different capacities in addition to our online mastermind. So it's just been wonderful. And if you're able, I can't recommend joining a mastermind or group coaching program enough. It's such a great way to build community, especially with others outside of your market, while also leveling up your business. Community is wonderful in and of itself, but the best type of community, I believe, is one that pushes its members to excel and better their businesses and themselves throughout the process. And while I love online connections, and of course, they can totally lead to real-life relationships, my personal favorite way to find community is to find it locally through some kind of a local networking group. So these days, most areas have some form of local group for wedding pros that meets in person. I'll actually share a list of Oregon-based groups in the show notes in case you are listening here in Oregon. And if you need help finding a group, let me know. I am more than happy to help get you connected because this is something that I truly believe is so important and essential for the success of your business. So shoot me a message or an email, and I will totally help you get connected in some kind of local group. And if your area doesn't have a wedding-specific group, consider joining a more general networking group or even joining your local chamber of commerce. I think it's so important to connect with others outside of our industry as well. And this is a great way to do so while still building connections and marketing your business. So at this point, you might be asking yourself, what can community really do for me? It sounds great and all, but, is it really worth it? Is it worth the time investment? Is it worth the potential, money of having to pay into some kind of a group? Or, is it really that important? So let me give you 4 reasons of why I think community is essential and just what community can do for you. So community can lead to lifelong friendships with others who get it. Because as I'm sure you know, people outside of the wedding industry often have a hard time understanding the pressures of what we do, and having relationships with people who are in the industry and know the ins and outs of what we do for our clients and what we do behind the scenes and just all of it is just a game changer. And I can't imagine going through life and not, having those relationships with others in the industry because it's unique. What we do it's unique and it comes with a lot of its own challenges. And so, yeah, just having others that we can share that with is so important. Secondly, Community can lead to more referrals than you can dream of. It sounds dramatic, but whether it's from another vendor type, so for example, a planner or a vendor recommending you on their vendor list, or your own vendor type. So if you're a photographer, you can only take on so many weddings per weekend. So having a list of other photographers that you can recommend, and then ideally, you're going to be on others' lists that they will recommend. So these relationships will inevitably lead to referrals, especially within your local market. And that's why I mentioned, I think that local relationships are so important because yes, it's wonderful to be in masterminds and coaching programs and Facebook groups and all of that. But the local community is really where you're going to be referring business back and forth to one another and growing your businesses together. So your mind will be blown with how many referrals will come once you start getting really connected. Community will also allow you to realize that you are not alone in your struggles as a wedding business owner. Maybe your bookings are down. Well, so are so many others. Maybe you missed out on an epic opportunity. Well, it's happened to all of us, and maybe you're having pushback on your pricing lately. Well, you are not alone, and if you get connected to a like-minded community, you will quickly realize this. We are just not an island, and we are not meant to go through these struggles alone. Lastly, getting involved with a community will help you to level up because seeing others succeed will make you want to succeed. Seeing what works for others will give you ideas of things you can adjust and streamline for yourself. So it's just going to happen naturally when you're in a group of other like-minded pros and people are sharing about, their successes and their struggles. It's naturally going to push everyone to be better and to do better. And I know it may not be like this everywhere, but in my local wedding community, people are super open and willing to share, which then leads to others being open and willing to share their struggles or their successes. So if you find yourself in an area that doesn't feel like this, I would just encourage you to consider being the one to start to openly share about your struggles and then see how others respond, because people just need a safe place to admit their struggles. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of people putting on their best faces and acting like everything is fine and perfect in business. And we all know that's not true. And that's just not helpful for anyone. So it just takes one person to open up and be willing to let their guard down and share. So if you can be that person, that might change the whole vibe of your local community. It just takes one person to start that. Okay, that's it for today. Those are my 4 examples of what community can do for you and why I think it's so important. And if you've listened to any of the other episodes, you probably already know that this is something that I'm very passionate about. So thank you for listening today. And if you have any thoughts, I would love to hear from you. You can shoot me a DM on Instagram at Event Crush or email me at becky@eventcrush.com. And I also wanted to share one other thing today that I haven't shared about yet. And this is a new offering that I have that is a wedding planner mentorship for new and aspiring wedding planners. And this is a brand new offering that I have just released, and I'm really excited about it because it's new. It's at this crazy low introductory rate, and I will include the link in the show notes with all the details about what's included, but I'll do just a quick rundown here in case you're listening and you're thinking, oh, this is something I need. So we'll do a 90-minute virtual call. So this can be for planners anywhere. You can be located anywhere in the world, and we can do this virtually. But we'll do a 90-minute call and we'll discuss your business dreams. I will answer all of your burning questions about running a wedding business and entrepreneurship and all of that. We'll talk about next steps and kind of the direction that you're heading in. I will also share with you my personal back-end workflow for my planning systems and what all of that looks like. I'll do a screen share walking you through the process. After the call, I will put together a document for you outlining what we discussed and a tailored action plan for moving forward. And you're going to leave with a better understanding of what it really takes to run a wedding business and how to make it last past the first 5 years. And you'll also walk away with the confidence to take the next steps and make your dreams a reality. So that's kind of the basic offering. And then I also have one that's longer term and more involved that also includes website review, social media review, workflow and systems review, additional meetings, and all of that. So again, I will include the link in the show notes. And there is a form to fill out on that page if you think that this sounds like something you're interested in, that if you're ready to level up your business to the next point, I would love to hear from you. So thank you again for tuning in today, and we'll be back next Friday as always. And I hope you have a great weekend. All right, bye.